giving you info and advice to help you thrive and survive in life, because we'll always be coping with something. Coping. Thank you so much for joining us for the award-winning Coping with Tre Tailor. I'm Tre Tailor. We've got a great show coming up for you, so I want you to enjoy. Hey, don't forget, we are streaming live on the Tailor Made production page. Please go over there, hit like and share and follow. Not only will you get notifications as to when we go live, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Wednesday for Wellness Wednesday from In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council, but also on Thursday and Friday for Coping with Tre Tailor. We're also streaming live on the YouTube channel. Please go over there and hit the subscribe button. We've got almost 3 years of information, resources, interviews that are available just for you, because you know what? We're always coping with something. We also have a presence on Instagram and also on Twitter. Coming up next, more Coping with Tre Tailor.
Which South Carolina State Fair memory earns your top prize?
One year, I got to ride the swings 3 times. It felt like I was flying into outer space.
The baby ducks waddling to the top of the slide and then splashing down into the water.
The games! Even if I didn't win, someone would help me win a prize.
Once a year, you can surround yourself with memories. And if you're lucky, make even more.
Memories filled with laughter and joy. Find them at the South Carolina State Fair, October 12th through the 23rd.
Computers, they're a part of our everyday life, but when they're not working, they're an everyday problem. So call Computers Unique, your everyday solution. 803-351-5821. Is your computer running slow? Won't turn on? Do you need a screen replaced? Or maybe you just need another computer? Well, Computers Unique is your one-stop shop for all your computer needs. They have a wide variety of new and pre-owned PCs, Macs, and tablets. So call Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall, 803-351-5821. 803-351-5821.
Today, we are coping with violence among intimate partners. The ladies from the Hive community join us today. Dr. Valerie Ekwe is Director of Operations at the Hive Community Circle. She's passionate about training and providing technical assistance to service providers. Ari Foster is the Clinical Program Manager for the Hive Community Circle. Her role focuses on the development and provision of advocacy, clinical, and peer support services for survivors of sexual assault, intimate partner violence, and or stalking. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Tre.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, let's find out, what is the Hive Community Circle? Dr. Ekwe, if you want to, or Ari, either one.
Yes, I can answer. The Hive Community Circle is a nonprofit peer advocacy organization that was created to serve survivors of sexual assault, intimate partner violence, and stalking.
All righty. And it is actually a physical place. Did you guys start out as just an organization and then move to a physical space?
Absolutely. Yes. It started with a dream, a vision, getting connected in the community and making those relationships, and went on to form into the organization we have now. We do have a physical office where we welcome survivors in the community to come in and receive services.
So tell me when and why this was established, why this was an important effort to have.
Yes. In 2016, our ED, Ashley Thomas, she's a social worker and a survivor, really saw a need for an organization that could speak to the needs of so many different types of survivors. There's a lot of different responses to this experience and a lot of different needs. And she saw gaps just in the community. And we really wanted to create an organization that could speak to that, to be able to provide culturally sensitive services to people who are most impacted by intimate partner violence, and to really bring together a community that could really speak to this healing process.
Yeah, you mentioned that you specifically wanted to speak to a cultural audience, and I want to talk a little bit about that a little bit later. But tell me, who is the person that can benefit most from the Hive?
Yes, just survivors, people who have experienced intimate partner violence, sexual assault, or stalking, people who might experience a lot of different barriers in trying to access services, people experiencing homelessness, and just a disconnection in general from community or other resources. Any type of survivor, but again, we do emphasize a lot of outreach in those communities that just have a hard time getting connected.
Yeah, and and we're looking at the space now, very beautiful space. So I want to ask you, Ari, or Dr. Ekwe, whoever wants to answer, tell me about the specific services and resources that survivors are able to get at the Hive.
Yes, I can answer that. So we have our peer advocacy program, which provides support services for survivors. We have individual counseling in groups, which again just speaks to that healing process and being able to work through the trauma. We also have economic support. So survivors sometimes really just need assistance with getting on their feet or getting certain resources like transitional housing, groceries, just meeting some of those needs in the moment when they are either fleeing a situation or just trying to get back up on their feet. Also, just general advocacy and case management. So ensuring that they're connected to resources in the community, because there's a lot. And we love to collaborate with other organizations really to benefit the survivor in that process.
So,
We also,
you, go ahead. No, go ahead.
We also have our education and outreach program. Taylor, she's an amazing, amazing advocate and person who does education in the community. And we speak to this. So we talk with youth, other organizations about healthy relationships, about intimate partner violence, spreading awareness and making sure that people know that we're here.
You mentioned really reaching out to the youth, so I want to stop here and talk about that piece because I wanted to ask what happens to, or are you able to provide services for someone who maybe isn't a survivor yet, but to kind of let them know about what to look for, what to look out for, what are some of the red flags, so to speak, that young people in college, all old people, anybody, just women and men of any age, to kind of make them conscientious about how not to have to become a survivor, how to just avoid the situation altogether.
Okay, so I can answer that for you. So first of all, I just want to say that, dating violence or intimate partner violence is usually characterized as a pattern or coercive behavior that is used really to gain power and exert power and control over a partner, right? So it comes in many forms, right? It could be physical abuse, emotional abuse, psychological abuse, verbal abuse, spiritual abuse, financial abuse, sexual abuse, and it can look very different in every situation, right? So it's not totally the same in every relationship. So some of the early warning signs or some red flags or some yellow signs, some warning signs are really poor communication, right? If the perpetrator is unable to communicate effectively. Also a person who has poor conflict resolution skills, right? They're unable to really resolve conflict in a healthy manner. Isolation. Sometimes perpetrators, they isolate their partners from their family and friends. They could have been in a previous abusive relationship, right? Sometimes they blame others for their problems, right? And then they set those unrealistic expectations of their partner. There could be some jealousy, possessiveness, dishonesty, forced sexual activity, threats of violence, psychological abuse, again, name calling. They are very hypersensitive. Sometimes they make all the decisions in that relationship. They can control what the partner wears, where they go, who they're with. They lack emotional intelligence sometimes and cannot manage their emotions. And then they are unable to really regulate those emotions, right? And then sometimes for me, when I think back, because I am a survivor of intimate partner violence, when I think back to my previous relationships, even in high school, what I really realized about my partners, and I didn't really know it at the time because I was just young, so I didn't know, but a lot of times they want to commit too quickly. Like they wanted, we got to date now. We got to get married now.
We look at that as, oh, this is great. He really loves me,
They want to be with you all the time. I went out with a young lady maybe a couple of years ago, and we were at a restaurant, and I believe her spouse called her at least 50 times in a span of an hour. It was so much. It was so obvious. Even she was making jokes about it. And I was like, that's so unhealthy. But I didn't tell her that at the time because I'm just like, that's your husband. But I felt like that was obsessed. It was a lot. And they, it's not like the kids were home. They had kids. It was just him checking in on her all the time.
Yeah, yeah. Dr. Valerie Ekway is Director and Operations at the Hive Community Circle. Ari Foster also joins us. She's Clinical Program Manager for the Hive Community Circle. We're talking today on Coping with Tre Tailor about the services and resources that they provide at the Hive, and also about IPV, intimate partner violence among communities of color. Ladies, I want to ask, what is that connection? What are the concerns, and why is it a thing? Even, why is it a thing that there needs to be a focus on intimate partner violence among communities of color? And I have to say, when you say communities of color, you think African American, Hispanic, all color.
Absolutely.
Well, here in South Carolina has ranked in the top 10 for intimate from women murdered by men for the past, I believe, is it 19 years? Because one year we were number 6, so we were out of the top. We ranked number 6, right? We're number 6 now. We ranked number 11. We was out of the top 10. I just know we were out of the top 10, right? And so it's a public health problem here in South Carolina. We have a major problem in South Carolina. Women are dying because of this. And, it's one of those neatly kept secrets that's swept under the rug, right? We don't really want to talk about it. It's a hard topic to talk about. A lot of times survivors don't come forward because they're embarrassed of what's going on. They can't control the situation. There's not resources. If you think about someone experiencing poverty or food inequity or housing inequity, and then they have to now deal with intimate partner violence, and maybe that perpetrator is the breadwinner, and they have children and they want to keep their children at home. And sometimes survivors don't see the perpetrator as abusive towards the children. And even I've had to say, if he's abusing you, he's abusing the children, right? Mm-hmm. Because they get to feel that. They know, even if they're not able to see it or say it, or if he's not doing things in front of them, they could feel like your energy. They feel the energy within that home. Right. So it is a public health problem that we just really need to address. And there's some systemic barriers that prevent survivors from coming forth. And so the Hive is a wonderful organization. I've been with the Hive for I think 2.5 months. It feels like forever. But I've worked with the Hive for over 5 years. And so this organization is really, I just love it because it's really culturally relevant. It's led by survivors. And I just love that we are centering survivors in a way that's going to meet their economic needs as well, right? Not just the counseling and other things, but even their economic needs.
Absolutely. Dr. Ekway, I want to ask you, and you too, Ms. Foster, if you can chime in, why do you think it's such a big problem here in South Carolina?
That is a great question. And a layered one as well. I think a big part of it is our just history within the state, our cultural history, those experiences that go way, way, way back. For women in general, right? Laws, that have been in place, that have been on the books up until, not too long ago, honestly, that put women at a disadvantage, made it difficult for women to be able to come forward, made it difficult for them to be able to get help and services. Like an example now is there's still a law where in the state of South Carolina, there's no statute of limitations for reporting a sexual assault, meaning if I was assaulted 50 years ago, I can still report today. No one's going to say I can't report. But if I'm in a marriage, right, where there might be a lot of different factors and dynamics and things happening, and I'm assaulted by my spouse, I actually have a limit. I have 30 days to report that in order to actually, be able to go to law enforcement and get assistance with that. So that's just one example of some laws and culture just within the state that make it difficult for survivors to get help, for them to reach out and get services, for them to be believed as they're reaching out to get services. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So as far as family and friends, what do they need to do if they have concerns, or if they, maybe suspect something's going on in their loved one's life?
Well, for me, I feel like friends and families need to be very supportive. They need to believe the survivor, and they should do that reflective listening piece. They should ask the survivor what they need, not tell them anything, because sometimes we'll be just like, leave, you need to leave, or why are you staying? Asking those kind of victim blaming questions. So refrain from using victim blaming statements or questions. You let the survivor take the lead in seeking their healing, support their decisions, even if you don't agree, right? And then also it's important to maintain your own safety. And also, make sure that if you're going to report anything, that you let the survivor know. Also, if you call in for services, the survivor has to call in. So you can get the information, just know the resources in your community so that you can give those resources to the survivor. The most dangerous time for a survivor is when attempting to leave, right? That's the most dangerous time. So telling a survivor could be in grave danger, but leaving could cause more harm. So that's sometimes why survivors stay, right? They can return to up to 7 to 9 times or more, right? To that, because of the different type of intersections that they're dealing with, whether it's housing or affordable housing. That's a problem here in South Carolina. We don't have enough transitional and affordable housing for survivors, right? So we don't have the economic piece for survivors, then how are they able to stay out of that relationship?
Yeah.
Also, those cultural barriers too, like married and religion and all of those things that keep a survivor there because of different cultural beliefs. I've had people I've trained tell me, we fight hard, we love hard. And I'm like, well, you shouldn't have to fight for love, right?
Right. That's not love. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. A lot of this, I think, though, ladies, and would you agree or disagree, is how a person was raised. If they were raised in a fighting household, to your point, Dr. Ekwe, then maybe that's what they deem normal. Do we see that as being a determining factor in why men and women stay, or think that maybe non-productive, non-healthy relationships are indeed healthy?
Absolutely. Sometimes, if you grow up in it, and I'm going to do a disclaimer, right? Because there are people who grow up in unhealthy relationships at home who don't perpetrate violence, right?
Absolutely.
But also there are cultural norms within a home, how we deal with conflict.
Yeah.
What we
Don't
deem
tell
as.
anybody. We keep everything in the house, and yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So it's all those factors, that go into play. And it starts very early. We need to be teaching prevention very early to, our youth. I mean, because I work with clients in the evenings that they see a lot of intimate partner violence within their families, but also in their communities, they see violence. So you have kids in elementary school perpetrating violence. You have kids in middle school. And definitely in high school, I'm not gonna give away my age, but when I was in high school, our guys were perpetrating violence. I went to Dreher High School, and guys were perpetrating violence against their partners, even at Dreher, and back then. So it's just still something that's very prevalent that's still here. And we really need to talk about setting healthy boundaries early on in a relationship, respecting those boundaries. You have to have your spouse or your loved one, or whoever you are in an intimate partner relationship with, you need to have them respect those boundaries. And then if they, because it's a pattern of behavior, so if they don't, then you need to make sure that you can get out as early as possible, because then relationship investment happens. You're invested in this relationship now. Then there may be kids. You may get married, and now you're just dealing with this for a very long time.
You mentioned teens, and I want to talk about that because we put a slide up earlier about your Teens Bloom program. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Ari?
Yes. Bloom was designed for our younger survivors, so about age 11 to 17 or so, and we would cultivate the group based on the ages that we had available as well. So it would be a good fit. But this space is designed for them to really just get that sense of community and support with other survivors or people who've had shared experiences. And I also want to say, when we use the word survivor, we're referring to people who have experienced the violence directly, but also people who have been impacted by it indirectly. So if you grew up in the household and you witnessed intimate partner violence or sexual assault, you can also benefit from all of our services, as well as the groups. But yes, these young people can get together. And I want to make this disclaimer that with this particular group, they're not being asked to share their in-depth trauma stories or their experiences in detail, but it really focuses on wholeness, healing, and wellness. So we talk about understanding the impact of trauma. We talk about how to know what it looks like to use healthy coping skills and communication and goal setting, things like that, to really help facilitate that healing process in a supportive space.
If someone wants to take advantage of the services and resources available at the Hive, who needs to call or contact them, and how do they need to make that contact with you all?
Absolutely. They can call our main number, 803-888-7725. They can also visit our website. That's thehivecc.org. And just reach out that way. Share that you're interested in services, and we'll definitely get you connected.
All right, that information is on the screen. Please contact the folks at the Hive Community Circle. And I'm assuming that not only can the person that is experiencing the abuse, the dating violence, they can call or contact you guys, but can a family member or friend also call?
Absolutely. Yeah. And we really encourage that, because sometimes you just need someone to talk to, someone to just ask questions to, kind of figure out what are my next steps, or how can I help a loved one, right? How can I get connected? Is this even something that I need services for? Because we do hear sometimes survivors have a lot of questions, right? Sometimes there's a tendency to compare, right? Maybe what I dealt with wasn't as bad as this thing that I've seen. But we encourage anyone, if you have been impacted, right? If you have had an experience that has just left something with you that you want to talk about, that you want to figure out, okay, what can I do? What can I do to heal? What can I do to help someone else? Please give us a call. We are here.
That's great. I love that, because you may think you're going through it and nothing may have happened yet. Nothing may have happened yet, but our spidey sense, our women's intuition feels something, or someone recognizes something. I love that you ladies offer a space and a place and a space, that people can come and talk about. A one-stop shopping, so to speak, for all of the resources that are available in our city and in our state, but just a place where they can, a safe space for them to come and converse. Ari Foster is Clinical Program Manager for the Hive Community Circle, and Dr. Valerie Ekwe is Director of Operations at the Hive Community Circle. Ladies, thank you so much for what you're doing in our community, and thank you so much for joining us today on Coping.
Thank you, Trey.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Computers, they're a part of our everyday lives. But when they're not working, they're an everyday problem. So call Computers Unique, your everyday solution. 803-351-5821. Is your computer running slow? Won't turn on? Do you need a screen replaced? Or maybe you just need another computer? Well, Computers Unique is your one-stop shop for all your computer needs. They have a wide variety of new and pre-owned PCs, Macs, and tablets. So call Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall. 803-351-5821. 803-351-5821.
Hi, I'm Judy Gatson. As a news anchor, wife, and mom, I know how important it is to take care of our health. Part of taking care of our health is knowing if you're at risk of type 2 diabetes. Prediabetes is a serious health condition and puts you at risk for developing type 2 diabetes. It's estimated that more than 1.3 million South Carolinians have it, and up to 90% have no idea. Take a moment to visit inittogethersc.org to take an online test to find out your risk of prediabetes and how to join a diabetes prevention program that takes the guesswork out of losing weight, eating better, and being more active. You can learn new ways to stay healthy and sustain those changes over time. When you join, you'll even get support from a trained lifestyle coach to help you set and achieve realistic goals. Go to inittogethersc.org, brought to you by the Diabetes Action Council of South Carolina.
Thank you so much for joining us for Coping with Tre Tailor. If you have a product or service that could help someone cope with COVID, please email copingwithtreitailor@gmail.com. We would love for you to be a proud sponsor, just like In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council. They sponsor Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping with COVID. Javis Tax Services, Palmetto Media Connections, the Fifth Circuit Solicitor's Office, Attorney Byron Gibson, Agape Counseling and Training Services, Black Pages, Black Expo, the Comet Bus System, and Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall. We also would love for you to be a guest on the show. If you have a story or initiative that could help someone cope or cope with COVID, please email booking@copingwithtretailor.com. Booking@copingwithtretailor.com. That information is scrolling at the bottom of the screen. We would love to feature you on the show because we're always coping with something. As always, we leave you with a great devotional. I'm reading back again from Jesus Calling. This says, when things seem to be going all wrong, stop and affirm your trust in me. Calmly bring these matters to me and leave them in my capable hands. Leave them there. Then simply do the next thing. Stay in touch with me through thankful, trusting prayers, resting in my sovereign control. Rejoice in me. Exult in the God of your salvation. As you trust in me, I make your feet like the feet of a deer. I enable you to walk, to make progress upon your high places of trouble, suffering, or responsibility. When things are going wrong, remember what is right. Jesus, he can do it for you. Thank you guys so much for joining us today for Coping with Tre Tailor. Until the next time, I wish you peace and abundant blessings. Take care, stay well, God bless. And if you're going to be out and about with large crowds, especially inside, don't forget to wear your mask over your nose and under your chin. I'll see you soon.
Coping, find peace of mind to survive through whatever. Coping, learning the way that we thrive all together. Coping, finding out what's real. Coping, we can heal, we can heal, we can heal. Coping with stress, coping with strife, bringing hope for success, for improving our life. Coping beyond hoping to do more than survive, ways to live a healthy life. Coping and promoting learning what you can do, 6 ways to a better you.